Anna. Maggots. It's all I can see when I close my eyes. Wriggling, wet maggots. I have to shake out my hands and take deep breaths to get the image out of my mind, the feel of them falling onto my skin. My stomach lurches as I try to unsee it and focus on the road. I drive around searching for a Starbucks in this God-forsaken neighborhood and think about the threats, and then the woman from 103 being struck by her husband. Do I tell someone? Are any of these surreal events connected to Henry? I was asked to stop back at the police station later today for some more questions. They still have Henry's laptop and don't have the phone records back yet, so I think maybe it's about that. Maybe they found something new. If I tell the police about any of this when I go in, is an unsigned note and a box of insects enough for them to give a shit about? No, because I can already hear them telling me there is nothing they can do about passive pranks with no suspect or actual threat, probably kids having some fun. They'll make a report and put it in a file cabinet, is what they'll do. But Rosa from 103, do I get involved? When I finally reach a Starbucks 6 miles from the Sycamores, I realize I really need to stop and buy a Keurig because I can't do this every day. How do these people live so far away from good coffee? It's incredible. I order 2 iced mochas so I can put one in the freezer for tomorrow until I can find a department store. I mean, where is the nearest Macy's even? It's like I've been dropped on another planet at the Sycamores. Why did Henry want his studio here is the real question. It's the question I keep coming back to the more time I spend at this place. If he really wanted space, he could have cleaned out the garage or drywalled the basement and made a studio. I just supported him having a studio. It was more affordable than converting the basement. He liked the way the light came in the morning. He'd made some friends. I figured they were other artist friends. In my wildest dreams, I wouldn't have imagined this. What the hell was he really doing here? When I park in my spot outside the apartment, I get out and toss my empty mocha in the dumpster and take the other coffee and a bag of cheese Danish with me, and then I see Eddie's truck parked 2 spots down. I saw him washing and waxing it this morning. I don't think I've ever seen anyone actually wax a vehicle before that in real life. And I was keeping an eye out for Rosa to see if she was okay. I saw her by the pool mid-morning, thank God, spreading out a beach towel patterned with Elmo wearing a snorkel and sitting her son down on it with a Ziploc of goldfish crackers. I felt a flood of relief at the sight of her, even though I heard her say she was okay last night. That is not a woman who is okay in any way whatsoever. I scan the parking lot to make sure nobody else is around. I glance to the pool to make sure nobody notices me, and then I dump the mocha in the bed of Eddie's wax truck. It's immature, a stupid and minor act of retaliation in reaction to the massive weight of the terrible way he behaved, but it still felt good, and if I'm lucky, I'll be on the balcony watching the moment he comes out and discovers it. Psychopath. I take out a bag of Whole Foods groceries from my trunk and begin to walk to the apartment like nothing happened, when I'm startled by a man appearing on the walkway in front of me out of thin air. "Oh, let me help you with that," he says, taking my groceries from my arm before I have time to protest. Thank you, but I don't." "You're in 203, right? I'm just a couple down from you in 206. It's no trouble. I'm going up," he says and begins walking, so I just follow since he doesn't leave me a choice. "And you are?" Oh, he stops and turns around, offering out a hand to shake. "Barry, you're Anna, and you live in Henry's old place, I hear." He doesn't wait for me to answer, he just turns and continues walking up to my unit, chatting away about how the heat wave is upsetting his tomato plants, and how I'll just love it here when I get to know everyone, and that they grill out by the pool most Friday nights, just dogs and burgers. Beer, of course, and that everyone brings something to share. When we arrive at my door, he's out of breath. "Well, thanks for the help," I say, reaching to take my grocery bag, but he doesn't offer it up, which is a little creepster. "I can help you in," he says, and I reach for my bag and take it. "That's okay, but thanks." I open my door as he lingers. "My pleasure, Anna from 203. I'm happy to help. Anytime. Whatever you need. And with that, I nod as politely as I can muster and slip inside, closing the door behind me. I barely put down my groceries when there is a knock at the door. What the hell does this guy want from me? What did Henry see in this place, seriously? I'm more creeped out with each passing day here. I tried to think of a polite way to tell him to get lost, but when I open the door, I see Callum holding an AC window unit, precariously balancing it on a bent knee. Whoa! I swing the door open to let him in so he can set it down since he looks like he'll drop it. His face is red and veiny from the strain. He sets it on the table, takes out a cloth, and wipes the sweat from his forehead. Hey, he finally says. What are you doing exactly? I laugh. He stands in front of the box fan, catching his breath. It's strange to have a man in here in Henry's private space. God, it's like the surface of the sun in here, he says. Yep, I agree. I heard you needed your AC fixed, but I don't know how to fix an AC, so I just popped this out of 115. Nobody's lived there for months, so if it gets rented, we can figure it out then. For now. He pats the top of the AC unit. Oh my God, I could kiss you, I say, and then immediately want to take it back as his face grows even redder, if that's possible. I quickly shift gears. You're a lifesaver. Thank you, I say, and he smiles, adjusts his ball cap, and gets to work unscrewing things from the old unit in the window. I pour some powdered iced tea mix into a plastic pitcher while he pokes and pounds at the ancient behemoth of an AC, and when I return, he's yanked it from the window frame. He is struggling to carry it to the table when I see something odd. On the windowsill is a key. I recognize the faded blue metal star attached to the key ring. It's old. He had it for years until I gave him the duck wearing a scarf keychain a few years ago as a gag gift, but he loved it. This faded star ring has been sitting in a glass bowl by the front door for ages, and now it's here, hidden out of sight. My heart speeds up, and I grab the key and turn it over in my hand. There is a small yellow tag attached that says storage. It's in Henry's blocky handwriting. Why would he have hidden this? Why was it shoved under the AC unit like that? I slip it in my pocket. After Callum finishes installing the new AC, his shirt is soaked through with sweat, and I feel bad he's gone to so much effort for me, taken up his morning for me, but I'm grateful. He takes the cup of iced tea I offer him, and then he leans over and clicks the power on the new unit, and it rumbles to life. I clap, and he bows, and then we tap our cups together in celebratory cheers. He sits on a folding chair in front of it and takes in the cool air for a moment. Glorious, I say, and he smiles at me. He's a quiet guy, and I find I don't really know what to say to him either. The brief silence is broken when an ice cream truck can be heard pulling into the parking lot, piping out the organ rendition of London Bridge is Falling Down, making the song sound somehow creepier than it already is. I stand next to him, and we look down at the pool deck and watch the kids hold out begging hands to the pool moms and run barefoot out the iron gate into the lot. Diabetes truck, he says, and I almost spit my sip of iced tea on him. Pardon? I ask. That's what my parents called it. He smiles. I guess that was meant to be a deterrent. You're still bitter. I smile back. He stands and puts his drink down. I'll get this dud out of your way, he says, and goes to the old broken AC unit to pick it up. Wait, that means you've never had a Choco Taco. Negative. Well, I have to buy you one for all your hard work, I say, and he doesn't protest, just sort of smirks as he lifts the AC, and I open the door for him and follow him out. We sit on a rotting picnic table on the edge of the property watching the ice cream chaos unfold. A Chipwich and a Dreamsicle have already hit the hot pavement, and the sound of crying toddlers rivals the organ music coming from the truck. One of the moms fishes for more change and argues with the driver when she's a couple dimes short. An older boy in swim trunks is going around snapping people in the legs with his wet towel with one hand and eating the bubblegum eyes of a Pink Panther popsicle with the other. What do you think? I ask Callum after he takes a bite. He says, catching the dripping ice cream with a tiny napkin. Stale, I ask, and he laughs. Little bit, he says. They're always stale. I forgot that part. Childhood nostalgia must have clouded my memory. I toss mine in a metal trash bin, and he follows suit. It was the thought that counts, he says, then stands. I'd better get back. Hey, I say before he can go. Is there, by any chance, a storage unit here somewhere? Kind of. There's basement access over there. He nods to concrete stairs near the front office. Some of the residents rent them to store extra stuff, but if you need storage, I wouldn't use them if I were you. Oh, why's that? Well, they're damp and full of mice, or so I hear. I don't have one, but that's the word, he says, and I don't tell him I'm looking for Henry's unit to see if the key really is to storage or just some strange decoy, because what the hell do I even know anymore about what he was hiding? I should ask Callum more. He might know, but ever since I got those threats, I don't want to give anything away to anybody until I know what's going on. Gotcha, thanks. And thanks again for your help, really. Sure thing, he says, and tips his ball cap with a shy smile before he walks away. I decide to wait until dusk after the residents are mostly inside their apartments before going down to the basement. I don't want anyone asking questions or gossiping about me because from what I overhear from my perch on the balcony, everyone's dirty laundry is fair game around here. It's not just the pool ladies spreading it about. There were 7 or 8 residents down there on deck chairs yesterday, drinking Colt 45s and talking about why Mary's grandson is staying with her. At the beginning of the conversation, it was because the mother took off with some guy, but by the middle, it was because she's doing life without parole in a maximum security prison for killing the father of the boy. By the end, it was settled on that she definitely stabbed him in the shower 24 times, Jodi Arias style, but that he deserved it. It's incredible, really. I can't tell if it's a bit of fun or if the pool whispers could cause any real damage. The more private I can keep my business, the better. I can already see that. In the late afternoon, I drive to the police station to meet with Detective Harrison. I'm irritated that they won't divulge more over the phone when I talk to them. Did they find something new? Do they know he said he killed someone? They can't because of course he didn't. I'm the only one who heard that, I know, but still, my heart pounds as I get closer to the now familiar building and a sixth sense washes over me that something is different this time. Something is wrong. I wait in a small room with a folding table and 2 plastic chairs that looks like an interrogation room I've seen on Snapped or a 2020 episode. When Harrison finally comes in, I instinctively start to stand, but he gestures me to sit again, and he has a hard look about him, lips pursed into a thin line and a crease in his forehead. He sits opposite of me. Thanks for coming in, Miss Hartley. Can I get you anything? He asks, fiddling with his tie. Did something happen? Did you find anything on his computer, a note or something? Why am I here? It felt routine when they said they had more questions, but I am starting to feel panicked now that I'm here. I just want to go over some of the basic information again with you. If that's okay. His face is purposefully neutral, and he leans back in his chair and brushes the small stack of paper in his hand with the edge of his thumb. Again, I feel like I've told you everything I know a dozen times. I know. You have been very helpful, but I just want to ask again about that final phone call, he says, and I don't know if I can bear retelling it. It's bad enough the hollow echo of his voice uttering his final words haunts me every single day and keeps me up at night. Don't make me say it out loud again. My heart aches. I feel tears forming behind my eyes already. I fucked up our whole lives, he said, and I'm so sorry, but I can't do it anymore. How many times do I need to tell them the same thing? You don't have to tell us about the conversation. You have been very consistent with your statement, he says. Consistent. Why would he use that word? Of course I have. It's what happened. I feel pricks of heat form under my shirt. What does he want from me? But at the end of the conversation, he continues, When you say you heard the loud bang and the call dropped, can you tell me what that bang sounded like? Can you remember? I've already told you this. Like maybe when he jumped, his phone smacked on a rock below, or something, not a gun, I think, just a crack. I said this already. You have, and we appreciate it. It's just a bit more important now, the exact timing. In light of some new information. What information? I cut him off. He puts the papers on the table with his hand placed on top. I know this will come as a shock, Miss Hartley, but the autopsy report came in, and, well, it's become evident that this was not, in fact, self-inflicted. He pushes the report across the table, but I can't pick it up. I just stare at him, my mind spinning. I look down at the cover page of the report, and it blurs. My head is light, and a wave of nausea washes over me. No, that's wrong, that's not possible. I was talking to him. He said that he can't do it anymore, and then wait. You said he jumped. And I mean he must have, because he was severely depressed, and he said he couldn't. I don't understand what you're saying. I stand and pluck my t-shirt away from my chest to try to cool down and not pass out. Of course, that's what everything pointed to because of your report of the phone call and his documented history of depression. I don't understand. He wore a Fitbit, Detective Harrison says, seemingly searching me for some reaction, and I don't know what he could possibly be getting at. Yeah, I got it for him last year, I say, not sure if my words are even audible. My mind is clouded with memories of that day he wanted to get into running and intermittent fasting for whatever God-forsaken reason, because he reads some article, I guess, so I got it for him just because. And of course, he lost interest in running and fasting 2 weeks later, but he still liked it because it tracked his sleep. He'd tell me how many times he woke up in the night, according to his Fitbit, nearly every morning. He was like a kid about how cool the information was. What does that have to do with anything, I ask. These gadgets track a lot of things, like heart rate, but they also tell us when a heart stops. And according to the watch, his time of death was hours after that phone call. The assumption was that the bang you heard was his phone hitting a rock, or... He stops, and I know he doesn't want to say the sound could have been Henry hitting rock. He continues, if he jumped and his head hit the rock, he would have likely been rendered unconscious and then drowned in the water below. He sees the tears running down my face and pauses. I'm sorry. I know this is hard. It's just that that was the initial assumption from the information we had, he says, waiting for me to put something together, I guess, but I'm not. He was found right below where his car was parked, right below where he jumped from the cliff. So what is Harrison saying? Neither of those things happened, the head injury or the drowning, not the way it initially looked. The Fitbit information was the first clue that something was off. But then the exam found that the wound on his head was not consistent with hitting the rock on a tumble down, and there was no water in his lungs. What does that mean? I don't know what that means, I say, but I think I do know, and I can feel my heart pounding against my rib cage, and my hands begin to tremble. It means he was placed in the water after he died, and it means the wound to the head was caused by something other than rock. He couldn't have caused that blunt force trauma to the back of his head himself. He says as gently as he can, I suppose, but the words still thunder in my ears and steal my breath. You're saying someone murdered him. That's what you're telling me. At this time, we are documenting it as foul play and opening a full investigation, yes. No, that's not. Who could have? It's just not possible. I'm mumbling, and my mind is reeling. Then the door opens, and another detective I've seen a few times before comes in. He greets me and then sets a small device in the center of the table. We have additional questions now that the circumstances have changed, so we'd like to record our conversation if that's okay with you. You do have the right to have a lawyer present, but this shouldn't take long, just some basic questions, he says. Oh my God, a lawyer. The bile pushes up into my throat. I have to steady my breath and angrily brush away. the tears that keep falling when I suddenly realize that this is, in fact, an interrogation room and I'm a suspect. Cass. A few days later, I sit in front of a box fan in the front office and peek out the blinds to watch the pool girls play Texas Hold'em at their plastic table. Rosa is with them, and she seems as if nothing at all happened last night. I wonder if they know. Crystal and Jackie told me to take the afternoon off and come celebrate my new job with a couple of high lifes, and I said I would, but I'm not especially good at pretending nothing is wrong, and something is very wrong with Rosa's situation. After almost an hour of indecision, the sweltering heat makes the decision for me, and I pull a t-shirt over my swimsuit and join the ladies at the poolside. "Hey, look who it is," Jackie says overenthusiastically, pumping her fist in the air. She's obviously been pouring some Seagrams into her Mountain Dew this afternoon. Rosa smiles at me and pulls out a chair for me to sit. Crystal pulls a High Life from the igloo cooler by her side and hands it to me. "Egg platter, huh?" Rosa asks, as easy as can be. I guess if she wants to pretend everything is normal, that's what I do too. "Yeah, I guess so," I say and crack open my beer can. Jackie lifts her plastic Dora, the Explorer cup, chock full of Capri Sun and vodka, and says, "Cheers." "Yeah, thanks," I say, meeting her cup with a tap. All the kids are out. Jackie's boys, Gordy and Earl Jr., doing cannonballs with Kevin and making the girls scream and squirt them with their Princess Jasmine squirt guns. The new kid sits on a deck chair reading a book. That's not something you see around here very often. When he sees me, he mindfully bookmarks his page and comes over. "Hello? My grandmother tells me your name is Cass, and I thought she said ass, but then she corrected me, but I guess that would be your name without the C at the front," he says, and Jackie spits out her drink, laughing. "Have you met Mary's guest yet, ass?" Jackie asks, smirking. Kinda." "I'm Frank," he says, "like old blue eyes. I was named after him and his old world charm." "Sinatra, huh?" I say. "That's cool." "Well, I'm glad you caught the reference. Most people around here don't." "What the hell is that supposed to mean?" Crystal snaps. "He's 10, Jackie says. "Take a pill." "Well, it's very nice to meet you, Sinatra." "Likewise," he says, holding out a hand for me to shake, and I do. "I was just wondering if you were going to be fixing anything else today. Like if you needed any help," he says. "You like fixing things?" "Yes, I like to know how things work. It's my hobby. Well, sort of. I don't have tools, but I could help you. Hand you stuff or something." Rosa, Crystal, and Jackie watch our conversation, back and forth like they're watching a tennis match. They look to me for my response. "I'd love that," I say. "I don't have anything else today, but I have to turn over 105 in the morning if you want to help." "What does turnover mean?" "When someone moves out, I clean it, paint. In 105, I gotta get the built-in microwave working again, cause someone who won't be getting their security deposit back exploded a tuna casserole in it. So there's a smell. Sound fun?" "Yeah," he beams from ear to ear. "I start bright and early. You have to bring the coffee." I smile, knowing that Mary makes great coffee and will be thrilled to have someone to make it for. He gives me a salute and says he'll be there. Then he goes back to his book. Before the girls have a chance to giggle at me about it, my phone pings, and I assume it's a service call because those are the only sort of pings I get these days. When I look at it, I freeze a moment. I cannot believe it. It's an invitation to the Summer Blitz, a charity ball that I helped organize every year for the last 6 years. But since the scene I caused when I discovered Reed and Kimmy together, I've been ostracized from everything. The Sunday brunches with the girls, especially, there have been 29 of them since I moved to the Sycamores, and not one invite. Not that I'm counting. Camille Garcia called once to see how I was, but I could hear in her voice she was uncomfortable. Reed filed for a restraining order he didn't get after I punched him in the back of the head, and all the husbands rallied around him. All my friends were their wives. But Reed has known the guys since college and was in a couple of their weddings, and I was just an extension of him. So when I was replaced, their loyalties shifted to Kimmy. All of the weekend trips to Cabo, shopping and Prosecco afternoons, game nights, dinner parties, barbecues, all of it was just robbed from me in one horrific moment. I didn't even suspect he was cheating. I just happened to be on my way out to pick up ribs to go when Jenny Winters stopped by unexpectedly, and we decided to make it a rosé on the back deck sort of evening. Barney's doesn't deliver, so I told her to catch up on the episode of 90 Day Fiancé I'd already seen, and I'd run out, and we'd watch the next together. Reed had said he was going to stay late at the office and do a late showing that came up. Shocked isn't a strong enough word to describe what I felt when I saw them in a corner booth with a couple dry martinis and his hands up her skirt. The white-hot white rage just overcame me. I'm not proud to admit I hit him, but it felt like a reflex. I had never struck anyone before in my life. I walked up behind him and stood there a moment, my mouth agape, and he didn't even notice me, didn't feel my presence, just so absorbed in Kimmy's vagina that I didn't even exist. I'd even ordered him his favorite baby backs and mashed potatoes for later, that son of a bitch. And somehow, after all that betrayal, he's the good guy. He kept the friends in Cabo and game night, and fine, yes, the house, because I was just a guest there, as it turns out. This invite must be a mistake. The party is tomorrow, after all. Someone must have forgotten to take me off a list, but I got it anyway. A happy accident. And I know they don't want me there, and if I showed up, it would cause a huge scene. The most pathetic part of it all, I know, I am fully aware of how truly disgusting I sound, but I want to see him. I want my life back. I want him to change his mind and come to his senses and realize he made a huge mistake. I want to go. I'm jolted back into reality by the thwack of a curly fry to the head. I pull it out of my hair and look to see Crystal, ready to toss another one. What's the matter with you? You gonna throw up, chica? You look green. And then, for some reason, I decide it's a good idea to tell the girls about how my ex and how his new trophy girlfriend will be at this party, and I was invited and deciding if I should go. It just spills out for some reason before I can think. Oh shit, Jackie says. You gotta go, dude. Yeah, Crystal says. You can't let that bitch win. Well, I say, I mean, it's not exactly a competition, but if it were, I'm gonna say she won. I don't know, Rosa pipes in, to my surprise. How old is the guy your ex? She's clipping the top of a Go-Gurt tube and handing it to her kid, George, who runs off across the pool deck in Crocs that are too big for him. 39 why, I say. And you're what, 36? 5, I correct her. And you said the new chick is 22. It's probably a midlife crisis thing. It's not over. He'll get tired of a girl that age. Stick it out. What the hell is wrong with you? Crystal says. What? Is it the 1950s? Did I miss something? You don't want him back, do you? Crystal turns to me, and I guess my frozen look answers her question. Oh, Jesus. You're one to talk. You got 3.5 babies and 0 baby daddies, Jackie says. That's 'cause I don't take shit like that from no dude. Listen, you gotta go and show this new chick she don't bother you, that you ain't afraid of her. We'll go with you, Jackie says, suddenly delighted by her own epiphany. She yells across to Gordy to shut up and stop hitting Amber with a pool noodle, and then sits at the edge of her chair to explain how great of an idea it is. We can take Crystal's minivan. It'll be like a party bus. It's not really an open to the public sort of thing, I say, but she stabs a finger into my phone. I saw that shit. It says Cassidy Abbott and family. We're your family. How are they gonna say we ain't? I think about my Oscar de la Renta the strapless, silky black one he always loved me in, sitting in a box in storage, and how it would feel to put it on again and walk in there an invited guest like I belonged, like I don't care anymore. None of those people have seen me in months. They don't know I live here. Maybe Barry from 206 could come as my date. He's a weird guy, don't get me wrong. He collects samurai swords and enters hot dog eating contests, but they don't know that. He's tall and pretty good looking, as long as he doesn't talk. I could look like I moved on with a new man and friends to boot, like I don't need them anymore. I could get closure, have them all think I'm successful in my new life. Maybe Reed would even talk to me, congratulate me. It's formal, I say, hoping that they actually have formal attire, but without actually wanting to ask that. We won't embarrass you, Cass, Jackie says. Ooh, we'll go shopping, Crystal says, and get our nails done at Lux. They give you free wine even though you can't drink it 'cause your hands are stuck in little plastic dryers, Rosa says. Jackie shakes my shoulder and jumps up and down. Yeah, we're going to a fancy ball. Woot. I pause. This might be a terrible idea, but in this moment, it feels like all I've been waiting for, an opportunity to get my old life back. If they see me as one of them, there would be more invites and I'd be a peer again. Maybe there'd be brunches and dinner parties again. I have a better shot, at least, than rotting here with no in at all. Okay, I say quickly, and they all cheer. Crystal stands and does a little dance, then clicks her cup into everyone's one by one and starts singing to herself, "We're going to a party, hey hey fancy ball, yeah." 3 high lifes later, the sky turns purple with ribbons of pinks and oranges burning on the horizon, and the katydids and cicadas buzz in the treetops. The girls have taken their kids inside for dinner, and the property is quiet except for the humming box fans and the low rumble of TVS behind apartment doors. I can smell the skirt steak Leonard in 111 is grilling, and maybe it's the slight buzz from the beer or the satisfaction that I have a job and a master plan to see Reed finally, but it feels something close to what happiness used to feel like. The moment is short-lived because as I walk back to my apartment, I hear voices coming from the laundry room. The door to the laundry room is next to the office and is always propped open with the lights on. There are 4 quarter pay washers and 5 dryers, but 2 are broken. I see Rosa inside under the flickering fluorescent light, holding a basket full of folded clothes. In front of her is the back of a man in a sweaty white t-shirt. He's raising his voice, but he's speaking Spanish, so I don't know what's being said. When he slams his fist on the top of the washer, the clang of metal makes her cringe and back up. That's when I duck behind the garbage bin next to the laundry door and hold my phone on top of the lid, aimed inside, and start recording. If this fucker thinks he can get away with what I saw last night, he's sorely mistaken. I'm not gonna let this happen. Now she's speaking really quickly and crying. It sounds like pleading, but I still can't understand it. Then he strikes her. I cannot believe I'm seeing this. How has no one else here done anything to help her? I'm peeking with one eye around the side of the bin, and I see her on the ground, the back of her hand dabbing at the cut on the side of her lip. He hisses out some final words, and then he's gone. I want to help her, but I can't imagine how she'd respond to seeing me witness this. A second time. Lord help me, if it's twice in as many days, and in a common area, what the hell goes on behind their closed door? I mean, how the hell often does this happen? I don't want to upset her, but I have to help. I watch as she pushes herself to standing and hunches over the washer, steadying herself with both hands, and just breathes for a moment, trying to collect herself. I don't go to her this time, because I have a better idea. It's worked before, so I can make it work again, only this time, I don't need to roofie his drink or take sexy photos next to him. I just need to let him know he crossed the wrong person, someone who has no tolerance for low-life men, and I'll show him the video and tell him I'll take it to the cops, get him arrested and evicted, even that I'll testify for a restraining order or whatever she needs if he ever hurts her again. I'll put a stop to this, and he won't know what hit him. What's he gonna do? Anna, I can't be here anymore. I stand in the middle of Henry's studio turned my temporary apartment. Flecks of dust dance in beams of sunlight streaming through the cracks in the curtains. Canvases are piled against the walls, boxes stacked to the ceiling, and everything feels cluttered and like it's closing in. I can't be here. I can't absorb what the police detective told me. Who would ever hurt him? He didn't have enemies. He was just a normal person, but normal people don't get murdered, right? I think of going back to our house. They said it would sell quickly, which is why I put everything in storage and thought it would make sense to just stay here while I sort his things and look for a place to move, maybe Costa Rica or Ibiza or one of the places we always talked about. But now I'm more lost than ever. I could move a bed back into the master and just get out of this hellhole until it sells, maybe. I called my parents and they thought that was a good idea. But there's something keeping me here. Like whatever terrible thing happened to him happened here, and people know more than they are saying. I hear some shouting down at the pool, so I abandon my thoughts and open the apartment door. I lean over the railing and squint against the morning sun glare to see what's going on. I catch a flash of something in the pool, a kid I think he's flailing, sinking under the surface, and then I see Callum crossing the pool deck from the mailboxes, running, tearing off his messenger bag from his shoulder and jumping in, pulling the kid out. My hand flies to my mouth. It all happened so fast, I take a moment to register what actually just occurred, that the kid was drowning. When he's sitting safely on a deck chair, with Callum knelt down in front of him, I see something even more shocking. The father that Eddie guy yells across the pool at him. "What the fuck is wrong with you, bro?" He starts making his way over to Callum and the kid, marching across the deck with a scowl. A handful of residents are at the pool, but I didn't see anyone else try to help. Maybe it just happened too quickly. People are muttering and watching what's unfolding, but not moving to see if the kid's okay. It all seems so strange. Eddie stomps up to Callum, and I see he's actually angry, looking for a fight. Not at all grateful Callum just saved the kid's life. He elbows Callum out of the way and yanks the kid up by one arm. "Go inside, George," he says, and although tears are running down the little boy's cheeks, he doesn't make a sound. He wraps the towel around his shoulders and runs, barefoot and shaking, toward Unit 103 and disappears inside the door. "Excuse me," Callum stands. "Your son just about drowned. You're asking me what the fuck is wrong with me. What the fuck is wrong with you?" "He was learning to swim. That's how we do it. It's not your place to interfere like that." "Are you out of your mind?" "He was under the water," Callum says, "but he's backing up ever so slightly." He picks up his bag and holds it in front of himself. It's subtle, but it looks like he's trying to shield himself, and I don't blame him. This guy looks deranged. He pushes Callum's shoulder. "I'm the parent. He learns to swim the way I decide he does. So you touch him again, it will be the last thing you do. Got it? How about instead I call child services and report you for neglect and child abuse, psycho?" Callum's words are shaky as he says them, but he says them and I cringe. You can tell he's scared but trying to do the right thing. "Yeah, try it. That will definitely be the last thing you do." And I mean that. "Sincerely," Eddie says, and everyone around the pool shrinks, probably wishing they were anywhere else, not knowing what to say or do. "Oh, you're threatening me. You hurt that kid again, and it's the last thing you do, sir. Two can play this game, and only one of us needs a serious psychiatric evaluation. So try me, not job," Callum yells, but there is self-doubt in his bravado that I can hear all the way from here. The sort of ease and confidence with which Eddie confronts him is clearly not in Callum's nature. I can even see his cheeks redden as he awkwardly tries to stand his ground. Then I see Rosa come out the front door of her apartment, and Eddie must see her too, because he immediately backs away as if nothing happened. He walks over to his truck and lights a cigarette. Rosa looks around a moment and doesn't see him, then goes back in. Callum looks around too, but much more insecurely, and then nods as if he's won the argument and heads for his apartment door. He shouldn't have done that, a voice from behind me says, and I leap, hand to heart. "Shit, I say, turning around to see a tiny woman sitting in a torn deck chair next to her door, smoking a Camel Light and shaking her head as she peers down toward the pool. You scared me, I say. Uncle Fester, she says, holding out her hand. I scare a lot of people, but I don't take it personally. Boo, she says, laughing. No, I mean, you startled me. I'm sorry. What was your name? I ask, shaking her hand out of obligation because she hasn't put it down yet. Babs, but they call me Uncle Fester, and he shouldn't have done that. I can see exactly why they call her that, although it's awful. Her head is shiny bald, and the bags under her eyes are remarkable. I'm not sure if she's sick, and of course I don't ask. I have no idea what to make of this strange woman who is apparently my next-door neighbor. Shouldn't have thrown his own kid in the pool, you mean? No, Callum. I think that's his name. He shouldn't have interfered. No bueno. She chokes on a puff of her cigarette and coughs, waving the smoke away. What? He just saved that poor kid's life. No one else was even paying attention, and his father just... Be that as it may, he just embarrassed Eddie Bacco. He's on Bacco's shit list now. You know him? Callum? Kinda, I say. You should tell him to watch his back. Why? That guy seems like a nut, but you don't think he's actually dangerous. Oh, honey, you see a lot of shit when you're invisible. I went out late one night to the Shamrock over on 8th for some smokes like over a year ago now, and I see Eddie and some other guys behind the building. There's a guy on the ground. A bloody guy, and they dump him right in the dumpster, no shit. Couldn't believe my eyes. I wasn't supposed to be there, but they didn't see me. What? I say, my heart speeding up, my chest pounding, thinking about Henry and if this unhinged man could be connected. The sky darkens, I notice, as if on cue. A few fat drops of rain fall, and I see some of the moms gathering up Ziploc bags of snacks and baby floaties and starting to shout at the kids to get out of the pool before lightning strikes it. Yeah, and they were saying some shit back and forth, but mostly in Spanish, and my Spanish kinda stinks. But I got the gist that the guy owed them like $500 for some meth or something. Can you believe that? Poor fucker in a Shamrock dumpster for $500. What a world we live in, she says, and I just stare at her a moment, not knowing how seriously to take her. She could be a quack for all I know. The story is outrageous, and this place is full of nutters. Seems like being humiliated in front of the whole apartment community is worse than owing him $500. I think he just pissed off the wrong guy, just saying. Rolling thunder rumbles behind the dark clouds, and the few older kids left on the pool deck cover their heads with towels and squeal as they scurry indoors. Her words feel like a punch to the head. Drugs. Is that what Henry's death is about? Did he get into something like that? I can't imagine it, but at least it's a thread to pull on. Wait, so you actually saw this, and you never told anyone what you saw? No one ever asked me, she says matter-of-factly, and then picks up a martini from the floor next to her chair that I just now noticed. Never mind that it's mid-morning. She eats an olive and blinks at me. What do you mean? I mean, nobody ever asked me anything about seeing a dead guy, so no, it never came up. You saw someone get murdered, I say, trying to keep the judgment out of my voice so she doesn't shut down or something. Well, not really. I heard a guy get murdered. I only saw a guy get dumped, technically. Don't you think you should report it? I say, trying to hide my disgust and utter shock. Not my problem. Why would I want to get myself in the middle of that? I think he's like, not just part of a cartel, but like a drug lord, she says, and now I am having a hard time taking her seriously, but I don't know what to think. So nobody knows this guy is cartel? Nobody around here knows? Did Henry know? Did you know Henry? I add desperately at the end because it just dawns on me that she lived next door to him, and he never mentioned her. What a gem that guy was. So sad about what happened. You're the wife, she says, and I nod. Yeah, you look like you don't fit in here, so I figured. What is that, Gucci? She asks, rubbing the hem of my dress between her fingers. I pull it away. So you knew him, I say, sitting on Henry's metal chair opposite her. He painted me once, she says, beaming. Really? I hold back tears thinking of Henry here in his studio, everyone's friend making everyone feel so important the way he always did. I imagine him at dusk, a brandy and ice sweating in a lowball glass on his wood table covered in brushes, all the windows open with a breeze spilling through, his subjects sitting on the chaise longue, posing for him as he paints them into life on canvas. It was when he was at his happiest. Mostly gritty portraits, photorealism, rarely nudes, and never elegant, glossy images. Just real people with every line on their face and fold of fat raw and present in his work. My heart soars with joy for just a brief moment thinking of him this way happy and peaceful. Yeah, she says. We chatted about how you guys were going to visit Roswell for the weekend, and I told him to get alien abduction insurance, and he didn't believe there was such a thing. So we looked it up on his phone, and no shit, lots of people have insurance in case of alien abduction, and he thought that was really funny. I said he has a better chance of running into a foot. What? I asked numbly. A Bigfoot. Anyway, besides that time, it was just a wave here and there when he came and went. Small talk once or twice when he drank a beer on the balcony. I didn't know him well, but still, I would have never thought he'd, end his life. He always seemed happy to me. I think of that trip we took to Roswell, just like she said months ago, and how he bought little green alien salt and pepper shakers for my parents because my mom would get a kick out of them. My hands tremble at the memory, so I try to change the subject to get as much information out of this woman as I can. People must know this guy is dangerous. I mean, don't you think? Does his wife know what he does? I ask. I don't think so. Did you meet Rosa? She almost passed out when Jackie ripped off a toenail running across the pavers next to the building. White as a sheet. A drug lord husband who kills people for sport. Gonna have to say she doesn't know. She knows he went to prison, of course, for drugs, but the rest. She shakes her head and slurps down another olive from her martini. He puts on the changed man act, a man who has a good job as a trucker, a family guy now. Prison, I gasp, and then lower my voice. Maybe she's not crazy, and this guy is really as big a threat as she says, but nothing makes sense anymore. It's all so surreal. Then how is that possible the wife doesn't know? Well, I guess everyone still does think that Eddie's a trucker. Over the road, Gone for weeks at a time. It's been that way a long time since he got out. Now, I think that he's probably not a trucker. You think, I say, again too loudly. But she just smiles as if having a revelation. Hey, it's nice to have someone to talk about this to finally. She lights a new cigarette off the one in her mouth, and then offers the package out to me. I decline. Well, she continues, who the fuck knows where he goes, but it's nowhere good. Oh, I wonder if he has another family somewhere, and someday they'll catch him and make a Lifetime movie about it, and we get to play ourselves in it. What a hoot that would be. It'd be fun to be in a movie, don't you think? Look, I say, trying to refocus the conversation. I know you didn't know him very well, but Henry, he didn't know this guy, right? He didn't get involved with, I don't know, drugs or... Oh gosh, I don't think so. Henry was a good guy. Great guy. I can't imagine him getting involved with that, she says, and I feel grateful to hear it come from someone else. He was a great guy like everyone keeps saying, but none of this adds up. You don't think you should tell the police about what you know? I ask. I'm old. I want to watch Gunsmoke with a gin martini and be left in peace. Not interested in getting my throat slit in my lazy boy one night because I poked my nose into Eddie Bacco's pile of shit. Stay far away from that guy is all. Tell Callum too. Then Babs picks up her half-empty martini and stands. She points at me, a sort of you got that gesture, and then disappears inside her apartment door, mumbling that it's hot as shit out here as she goes. I numbly walk into my own unit and stand staring at the wall, my mind reeling with the words cartel, murder, meth. I have to be living in a parallel universe right now. I'm baffled, absolutely mystified. Did Henry get wrapped up in this? I mean, what other explanation is there? I do tell Callum. I text him and tell him everything Babs just told me, so he knows it all immediately. I can't really bear to repeat it all in person, although it probably deserves an in-person conversation. I need to figure what the hell is really happening here. I need to dig into this storage unit and see if Henry is hiding something. First, though, I start to hunt through every junk drawer and keepsake box and backpack any crack or crevice where he might be hiding drugs. God, I can't believe I'm even saying that, but what if that's why his demeanor started to change over the last months? It would make sense. His toxicology report was clean, but just because he wasn't on something that day doesn't mean anything. He hid it from me, though. I mean, if he was doing these drugs, he was an expert at deceit. But I guess addicts can be. Shit. What if he was selling it, not using? God, what if he wanted to make extra money or something? I thought we were doing pretty well. Not great, but comfortable enough. I take a breath and stop my rambling thoughts and focus. After I dump all of the kitchen drawers and search under the mattress and in the pillowcases, I start to pull out linens from under the bathroom cabinet, and nothing. It's a small place. There are boxes I haven't gotten to yet, but nothing on the surface. Then I open the medicine cabinet, and it's empty. I mean, there's a face lotion, a comb, and some razor cartridges, but I know he keeps painkillers close. The oxy for his knee surgery and some pain meds for when his rheumatoid arthritis flares. He can't work without them when he gets a flare-up, so the fact that there are no drugs at all in the place seems even more strange than finding additional illicit ones. I could maybe see a scenario where he bought some seemingly benign drug from this guy, not knowing who this maniac, Eddie Bacco, really was because he wanted something stronger for pain. That actually seems possible. But what the hell does it mean that all his meds are gone? Was he going somewhere? Did he take them with him on purpose? I truly cannot wrap my head around what could have possibly happened to him, and all of it is more unsettling the more I learn. I grab an umbrella from its hook next to the front door. A pang of longing for Henry washes over me when I see it's his favorite, the one with the blue sky and cloud pattern on the underside of it, a sunny surprise when you open it up. The thunderstorm has moved everyone inside, so it's a perfect time to go down to the storage units without anyone's questions. The smell of wet earth and summer rain feels like a slight comfort until I open the door to the small detached building where the storage is, and the rain thunders deafeningly hard on the tin roof, sending shivers up my arms and stealing my breath for a moment. I continue anyway and look around to see a makeshift storage area, 5 by 10-foot rooms with cement walls and chicken wire doors, which seems prison-like and out of place. I can see through the wire into each unit, so I don't have to try my key in each one. I can quickly rule out the units packed with tricycles and a Barbie dream house, or the ones with potting soil and terracotta pots stacked up in piles. I try numbers 6, 10, and 14, which only have sealed cardboard boxes, but nothing. Then, when I see numbers 1 through 5 behind me against the wall, I can immediately see which is Henry's. It's piled with canvases, some portraits, many blank still. I recognize his bike that I hadn't even noticed was missing from our garage in all the numb shock of clearing out the house. I try the key in the lock, and it clicks open. I push in the wire door and look at it all for a moment. I set my phone down on a pile of books and try to decide where to start digging in. There are at least a dozen boxes, which I'm afraid to open if I'm honest, but before I can even peel the tape off one of them, I hear something. The scrape of a steel door. The door I came in, the one I propped open, is swinging closed, and I see a sleeve. Someone's arm is closing it. "Wait!" I scream, and as I run toward the main door, the wire door to the unit starts to slam shut as I let go of it. Before I can stop either door from closing, it's black. It's utterly black, and as the rain continues to beat on the tin roof, my screams vanish in the air. The wire unit door locked when it slammed closed, and my phone and the key are inside. I begin to panic. I feel my way to the front door and try to open it, but it's locked. Someone has locked me in. I beat on it and scream until my voice is raw and my fists are bruised, but no one comes.